Hey everybody, Elizabeth from Silvernest Homeschooling, mom of four, and I am currently homeschooling two out of the four as the older two are off and running off to college, etc. We have been homeschooling for 12 years. That's the little mini background. If you like this, you can share, subscribe, but honestly, I'm not here for a business. I'm here just to share with you what's worked, what hasn't worked, and some tips and tricks from 12 years of doing this as a real mom with real kids. And so real moms with real kids have real swap out changes. So I did create a video on how our September went, and now we're in October, and this is story time. So we have a ninth grader and a seventh grader that we are currently working with at home. And the ninth grader loves her hybrid program. She loves her friends. She loves going to school. And so we signed her up for all the classes that had worked before from last year, all the professors and teachers that we'd looked at before. And then I'm at home teaching her history because we've agreed that the program that we use is better than the options that she has there. And then also she is doing we got hair going everywhere. This is static season. We have a wonderful grandma who teaches their health class. And so that's been perfect. She's also doing a lot of ballet. And that is where part of this came in. So her passion is ballet, and she's been blessed and upgraded. She's on point. She's doing so many hours, so many classes. And then she made it into the winter Nutcracker play. So she's gone even more. So we began to notice we went into the year with light hands. Some things may have to shift. Not used to the schedule, but she seemed like she was doing okay. She was handling it. She's bringing the grades home. She was super motivated, getting up super early, getting everything done. She's got that kind of personality. Things began to shift a little bit here and there. And around the time things began to shift with her starting to seem overwhelmed was when the rehearsals for the play started. So I'm like, okay, give her a little bit to recombobulate, find her sea legs, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, I want to preface the story time with the fact that we are Christians, and so the Holy Spirit is always how we've been led with the decisions that we've made in our homeschooling. And often those decisions are not the comfortable decisions, and they're often not the ones that would make my life easier. I just want to know that parenting is not about how to make my life easier. It's not how to make your life easier. It's about doing what God has called you to do, trusting Him with the results. So, that being said, I was helping my other daughter, who is not in my homeschool anymore, but of course is definitely still in my home. She is going to be a writer, and so we were looking for different YouTube videos on different topics that would help her as she's working with her writing. And I was just curious, and I came across a YouTube video, as we do, about the modern public education system and how it's having a hard time with people becoming writers. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I deep dived down there, and I'm not going to link the video or anything. I'm just going to give you kind of a summary of what stood out to me. There was this particular type of education for English that was teaching students with scientific study backups in college who were English majors who could not take the book Bleak House by Charles Dickens and rewrite it in modern language and understand what it was they were writing. And so they were linking this study back to the type of education that these kids were getting, these students were getting, and that there was this question of, can they even read a full book in college? Coming professors and asking them, how do I read a full book in college? Oh, well, that's interesting. I've had this discussion with other parents, other teachers, about how many books we now assign to our students in the public school education versus how many books we assign at home, full-length books. And also the fact that there's a real focus on articles instead of even short stories or classic literature, and then the way that they respond to it. And I just started getting all these red flags. That was last week. And I thought, this is really interesting. Discussed it with my other daughter, discussed it with my husband. Fast forward to even last Friday, Thursday, we found out that that's exactly the education that is now being taught in my daughter's English class. She got a new English teacher this year. Really nice gal, super sweet. But I looked at that and I thought, this is not going to prepare this particular child for the college plan that she has. Plus, I asked her, I said, what have you learned? Now, we're into a month plus of school now. And I would think, okay, review. I mean, I can understand review. No, she doesn't learn anything. And I have to also preface this with the fact that my minor is in English, so I might be hyper picky. Maybe you saw my video on the amazing 1001 English curriculums I've gone through because I'm so picky on English. Just like if someone was picky on math, they might, keep looking for the perfect curriculum, and how there is no perfect curriculum. But at the same time, there are some distinctly better ways to do things for an individual child, and we were realizing this isn't going to work. Talked to my husband, gave him the lowdown on everything, and he was like, if you're feeling this way, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's pretty simple. Pull her. Teach her at home. I wasn't sure how that was going to work she's a freshman, so she's got, grades are important now. You got a 4-year. So I sent a message. Oh, so sick. Sent a message to my advisor at the school and said, hey, we're interested in pulling her. We like the teacher, but we think this other program is going to work better for her. And so, short story, done. Monday, she was done. Tuesday, she was home. And we are adding English to my pile of things I'm teaching. This also adjusts my other daughter, though, because when she finishes this year, she will also have automatically put in that teacher's class for the next 3 years. And so guess what I'm teaching? I will be teaching potentially English for the next 3 years for high school. And comforting, my oldest said he wishes he had me teach him more of his English when he was in school with me, but he had a bad attitude. And so I'm like, if you're not going to work with me, if I can't teach you, if you're, you can't learn from me, you got to go somewhere else. And so, but he said, looking back, he wishes that he had more time with me. So that's nice. That's comforting, right? I mean, this isn't like a subject that I'm not really good at, but I think on the other side, I still am needing to rely more on Jesus and more on the Holy Spirit. And so I needed comfort because, that's a big decision to pull your child and switch everything. And we're looking at her schedule now. Her schedule's going to be so much less stressful. She'll actually get her work done more efficiently. The program we're using is Essentials in Writing, which I can show you. But it's going to make her life easier for her ballet dreams and focuses, as well as I think it will definitely be a much better education. She will be reading many more sources, not articles, but actual short stories, plays, books, poetry. She will be learning to write essays in a very efficient and, step by step. I really love Essentials in Writing. I think the final thing for me, though, was I was still scared until Monday morning. I hadn't heard back if the school was going to say yes or not to letting us pull her right away, or if we're going to have to wait till the trimester system so that her grades wouldn't be messed up. And I came across Psalms where it says that we will teach generations, even the generations yet unborn, the commands and the miracles of God. And then it goes through and talks about all of the things that God has done for the people of Israel and how many times they had pulled, still complained or still pulled back. But it was just this encouragement to me. I'm like, yeah, that is my job. My job is to teach my children. Whether we homeschool or we don't homeschool, our job is to teach our children the commandments of God and the miracles that he's done in the past. And I'm like, yep, that's what I need to do. And for me, that spoke that I needed to do this class. That I needed to take on the responsibility that God has given me to educate my children. And in doing that, one of the components of this particular curriculum is it tends to teach to your emotions and bringing your emotions to the discussion and kind of ignoring some of the facts, blurring some of those lines. And so I just want to say that, yeah, if you're trying to make a hard decision, seek counsel, make sure you're in agreement. I can't believe I made this decision so fast, but maybe it's because we've seen in the past delaying some of these changes is almost worse. So it's like pull the plug, get them started on the new thing, move on. Inconveniencing your life is the point of parenting. Like We didn't have them to be convenient. We had them because they are such a gift and a calling and a purpose. And whatever we sacrifice, God is going to meet that sacrifice. He's going to pour in back into us. He's going to pour back into them. And if we started it on a God assignment, we should not quit halfway through relying on ourselves instead of on God. So anyway, so because of that, we have going to do essentials in literature and essentials in writing. This is level 10. This is what my oldest daughter did for her class year. She actually did it on 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. And she was in school and it was too easy for her as well. It was a different teacher. So we did pull her at the semester and had her come home. But yeah, so they have a literature unit and a writing unit. I like it because it has a little bit of grammar at the beginning. And if you don't understand it, you can stay. If you understand it, you can move on. And then the writing portion also takes you through a series of paragraphs and essays. And again, they'll repeat the assignment. So if they already understand it, they don't have to do it again. So especially in the other, let's see if I can get that, the original. These are the first editions. I am going to try the second edition with the 9th grader. We'll see how that goes. But these were the first edition. And so it takes you through, most of the literature is not inside it. You have to look it up online or get a copy of it, but they're all public domain, very easy to locate. They even have like people that have already put them in a list, so you can just click the button. And then there's an online component of a video, or if you get the old version, sometimes you can find the DVDs, and they have the lessons, everything explained in there. Or if your child is a visual learner, you can actually, they don't even have to use the lessons. They can just go ahead and read the assignments, read the information, read the teaching, and go from there. So my firstborn ended up stopping using the videos pretty quickly. She just enjoyed reading it. It breaks it down in such a wonderful way. As someone who wants my kids to excel in comprehension of literature, the reason they do only read one book a year, which sometimes I do but beef that up, but it's because they want to cover a whole variety of genres, not because they're just teaching you the same thing over and over and over again. So for me, I find it to be much more helpful because they're like, okay, how are we going to embrace poetry? And they'll read maybe, 4 to 7 poems and really have a good poetry unit. Their theater unit on Our Town was brilliant. That one was the level 11. They don't do it by grade. They do it by level. So if you do need to go up or down for your children, like my older child, she always was one level above her grade, and we were able to actually make it an honors class for her. I also find it to be very clean. I wouldn't say that it doesn't have any, they do To Kill a Mockingbird. One of the books is Night. One of the books is The Hobbit. One of the books is, so the books themselves are not, and the reading that you're doing is not simple. Like, you are going to come across some hard topics, but they always feel very age appropriately hard, and they do not feel gratuitous, and they don't cover things that I, feel are inappropriate, if that makes sense. We are still touching on common human problems and challenges, questions of technology, questions of racism, questions of justice, irony. There's a lot that is able to be pulled out and discussed. Also, I love it because at the end of the teaching manual, they have an example of what a student should write and an example of what is not acceptable. Now, the should write is not actually what they should write. It's just an example of how it would be answered correctly. And the student is actually encouraged to read those as if it's in a class discussion. So it's like a fellow student also presented a really good idea. And that way they can get kind of almost learn also from the answers. And it gives them a better understanding of what their grade level amount of writing to question answer should be. Some of the stuff is multiple choice. Some of it is short form essay questions, but not like giant gobs, but like reasonable amounts. But they are going to be doing like that practice. And then for us, they even have some weeks that are empty on one. So lit might be empty that week. And then because you have a larger assignment in your writing or vice versa. Yeah. So not easier, definitely better. Definitely better. If you're on the fence about changing your curriculum, I would pray more. I would say sometimes the curriculum should just be left alone and just deal with it. If it's not morally an issue and you've seen good fruit from it, don't jump on the next bandwagon. But for us, there were some glaring red flags and some things we just felt so just sick in our spirit about. We live in Washington State. And so the deeper I dive into the way that we've decided to educate the children here, the more concerned that I am. I am concerned. And so I am grateful for the privilege to be able to homeschool. I hope this was helpful. Story times usually I try to keep them kind of light, but this is a great win. The relief of knowing it was going to be okay and that my program completely backed me up. They not just backed me up, they got me out of the class and paid for the new curriculum for us, which they would have done at the beginning of the year if I had had my ducks in a row properly. And they checked in on me and stuff. So, and again, we had no beef with the teacher or anything. We just this is not going to work for us. So hope that helps you think through when you're trying to make decisions, or at least reminds you that even if you've been doing this for 12 years or 1 year or 6 months, that yes, sometimes giant shifts have to happen and change, and knowledge is power, and spend your time doing research. But at the end of the day, be led by the Holy Spirit with what works for your individual children and your family and for you. This program works for me. I know how to do it. I know how to correct it. And I know this program is going to work for my daughter. This program is great for ADHD. It's recommended for people with dyslexia. It breaks everything down into tiny bite-sized chunks. I loved it. We've already used it with a younger grade. She's used it before. In fact, she's a little hesitant, but the relief on her face when I told her we were going to pull her was all I needed to see. So, yep, hopefully now she can devote her time to ballet without worrying, and she'll be able to get her English done in a more efficient and life-giving way. So, hope you're having a great day. Hope your school, that everything you picked is working really well, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.